The Ku Klux Klan. The name itself can send a shiver down the spine. It is a name synonymous with hate, with violence, and with a dark, painful chapter in the history of the United States. This group, often called the KKK, is known as one of America's oldest and most infamous hate organizations. They have appeared in different forms over the years, like waves of a terrible tide. But their core message, sadly, has often remained disturbingly consistent through time. Understanding the Klan is not just about looking at the past, it is about understanding forces that can still trouble society today. Their story is a somber one, filled with fear and intimidation. But it is a story that must be told and understood to prevent such darkness from rising again. The image of the Klan is often one of ghostly figures in white robes and pointed hoods. These costumes were designed to hide their identities, allowing them to commit acts of terror under the cloak of anonymity. The hoods also served another purpose, to inspire fear and to create an image of a unified, almost supernatural force. This visual identity became a powerful symbol of their presence and their terrifying intentions. Seeing these figures, especially at night, often carrying torches, was enough to strike dread into the hearts of their intended victims and entire communities. The symbolism was potent and deliberately menacing, a stark warning to those they opposed. The Klan's fundamental belief, from its inception, has been rooted in the idea of white supremacy. They believed that white people, particularly those of Anglo-Saxon or Nordic descent, were superior to all other races. This deeply racist ideology fueled their hatred and their actions against various groups. They sought to maintain a social order where white people held all the power, and where other groups were kept subordinate and denied equal rights. This wasn't just a passive belief, it was a call to action, a justification for violence and oppression in their minds. The pursuit of this supremacist vision has driven their campaigns of terror throughout history. The Ku Klux Klan has a long and brutal history in America, stretching back to the years immediately following the Civil War. It has not been a single, continuous organization, but rather a series of movements, often called clans, that have risen and fallen in different eras. The first Klan emerged in the South during the Reconstruction period. Later clans appeared in the early 20th century, and again during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. Each iteration adapted its targets and methods somewhat, but the underlying current of racial and ethnic hatred remained a defining characteristic. Their legacy is one of division, pain, and the struggle for justice. The first Ku Klux Klan was born in the ashes of the Confederacy. It began in Pulaski, Tennessee in December of 1865, just months after the Civil War had ended. 6 young Confederate veterans started the group. Initially, they may have intended it as a secret social club, a way for former soldiers to find camaraderie and perhaps play pranks in a defeated and uncertain South. The name Ku Klux Klan is thought to have been derived from the Greek word kuklos, meaning circle, combined with clan, suggesting a brotherhood. They created mysterious titles for their officers like Grand Wizard and Grand Dragon, adding to the group's enigmatic and somewhat theatrical beginnings. However, the social club atmosphere did not last long. The South was undergoing a period called Reconstruction. The federal government was trying to rebuild the southern states and integrate newly freed African Americans into society as citizens with rights. Many white Southerners, especially former Confederates, deeply resented these changes. They feared losing their social and political dominance. They were angry about the outcome of the war and the new status of Black Americans. The Klan quickly transformed from a diversion into an organization dedicated to resisting Reconstruction and restoring white supremacy through any means necessary, including widespread violence. The Klan's founders and early members were largely from the middle and upper classes of Southern society, including planters, merchants, lawyers, and of course, former Confederate soldiers. They saw the empowerment of African Americans and the influence of Northern carpetbaggers and Southern white Republicans, scornfully called scalawags, as a threat to their way of life. The Klan provided a vehicle for them to express their outrage and to try and violently turn back the clock. Its secrecy and its terrifying tactics allowed members to act with a sense of impunity, often with the tacit approval, or at least the fearful silence, of parts of the white community. The rapid growth of the first Klan was fueled by this widespread resentment and fear among many white Southerners. It spread quickly across the former Confederate states, becoming a paramilitary force dedicated to overthrowing Republican state governments and terrorizing Black people and their white allies. They aimed to prevent African Americans from exercising their newly won rights, such as voting, owning land, or seeking education. The Klan became, in essence, the terrorist arm of the Democratic Party in the South during Reconstruction. Its members sought to re-establish a social order as close as possible to the one that existed before the war, using fear as their primary weapon. The core belief of the Ku Klux Klan through all its iterations has been an unwavering commitment to white supremacy. They fervently believed that the white race, specifically those of Protestant Anglo-Saxon heritage, was inherently superior to all other races and ethnic groups. This belief system, often referred to as nativism and racism, dictated that America should be governed by and for white Protestants. They viewed racial mixing as a contamination and racial equality as an unnatural and dangerous concept. This ideology was not just a set of abstract ideas, it was a direct call for the subjugation and oppression of anyone they deemed inferior or a threat to their vision of a pure America. Because of these deeply ingrained beliefs, the Klan's primary targets were, first and foremost, African Americans. During the Reconstruction era, the Klan sought to prevent black men from voting, holding office, owning businesses, or achieving any form of economic or social independence. They also targeted white Republicans, both Northerners who came south, carpetbaggers, and Southerners who supported Reconstruction, scalawags, because these groups were seen as enabling black advancement. As the Klan re-emerged in later decades, particularly in the 1920s, their list of enemies expanded to include Catholics, Jews, immigrants, and anyone they perceived as challenging their narrow definition of Americanism. Their hate was broad and encompassing. The Klan's actions were characterized by extreme brutality and violence, designed to instill terror. Their methods included nighttime raids, often in their distinctive white robes and hoods, to intimidate and attack their victims. They would issue threats, burn crosses on lawns as a warning, and engage in physical violence, including whippings, beatings, and torture. Arson was common, with homes, schools, and churches belonging to African Americans or their supporters being burned to the ground. The most extreme form of their violence was lynching, the illegal mob execution of individuals, often by hanging, which became a horrifying symbol of racial terror in the South and beyond. The goals of the Klan were clear: to restore and maintain white political and social dominance. In the Reconstruction South, this meant undermining Republican governments and suppressing the black vote to allow white Democrats to regain power. They sought to control the black labor force and to keep African Americans in a state of economic and social subservience. In later periods like the 1920s, the Klan aimed to purify the nation by attacking those they deemed un-American, promoting a nativist and often anti-immigrant agenda. Through all its phases, the Klan used fear and violence as tools to achieve its objectives, leaving a trail of devastation and deep-seated trauma in its wake. The impact of the Ku Klux Klan's actions on individuals and society was devastating and far-reaching. For African Americans, particularly in the South, the Klan created an atmosphere of constant fear and insecurity. Families lived with the dread of a nighttime visit, a burning cross, or a violent assault. This terror forced many to flee their homes and communities, seeking safety elsewhere, though often finding prejudice in other forms. The psychological toll was immense, scarring generations. The Klan's violence wasn't just physical, it was an assault on the spirit, an attempt to crush hope and dignity, and to enforce a brutal racial hierarchy that denied basic human rights. Beyond the individual suffering, the Klan's activities had a profound and lasting negative effect on American society. Their systematic suppression of black voters during Reconstruction and later periods significantly hindered the progress of democracy in the South for decades. This allowed for the establishment of Jim Crow laws, which enforced racial segregation and discrimination, effectively creating a new system of oppression after slavery was abolished. The Klan's violence also stifled black economic advancement and educational opportunities, perpetuating cycles of poverty and disadvantage. They actively worked to create a deeply divided society, fueling racial animosity that would persist for many, many years. The Klan's reign of terror, while most intense in certain periods, cast a long shadow over American history. It contributed to a culture where racial violence was often tolerated or ignored by authorities, particularly in the South. The failure to bring Klansmen to justice for their crimes emboldened them and perpetuated a sense of impunity. Even when the Klan's power waned at times, the fear and the social structures they helped to enforce remained. The fight for civil rights in the 20th century was, in many ways, a direct response to the legacy of the Klan and the Jim Crow system it championed, a struggle to dismantle the very injustices the Klan fought to uphold. It is critically important to remember this dark chapter of history. Learning about the Ku Klux Klan, their beliefs and their actions, helps us understand the deep roots of racism and intolerance in America. It reminds us of the terrible consequences of hate and the fragility of civil rights. By confronting this painful past, we can better recognize the warning signs of similar movements today and appreciate the ongoing struggle for equality and justice. Remembering the Klan is not about dwelling on negativity, but about honoring the victims, acknowledging the injustices, and strengthening our resolve to build a society where such hatred can never again take root and flourish.